Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video here at tablemon. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I'm gonna be talking about the deck that I played at the Pokemon World Championships in 2025. I'm making this video not only because people have asked me a lot about what I played and why I played it, but also as a way to leave it for the future. I definitely wish I had a video like this with my exact deck list for every single deck I've played at the World Championships over the last 20 plus years. So this is also as a way to archive a little bit of history in the Pokemon trading card game. But yeah, I ended up playing Charizard Pidgeot EX. Now, I chose this deck because, as I predicted, there would be a lot of Goldingo, there would be a lot of Raging Bolt, and there would be a decent amount of Gardevoir, but some of the world's best players were probably going to play Gardevoir. And at the World Championships, right, the skill differential between one person and their opponent is when it's at its minimum, right? Because these are the best players in the world, and therefore at this specific tournament, outskilling someone else is very difficult, right? So that's when your deck choice and luck play a much bigger role at that specific tournament. And therefore, if I'm playing, for example, against Tor Draclev, who is obviously the best in the game, and I'm playing against him, and I'm playing Charizard and he's playing Gardevoir, I definitely know and feel that I can go toe to toe against him when it comes to making the right decisions and optimizing my gameplay against him. But if I have a natural deck advantage against him, that's going to help me out, right, in a big way. So that's part of the reason why I chose Charizard Pidgeot, not because I didn't feel like I could outplay people, but why wouldn't I want to sit down and already have an advantage against someone whom is just as good as me, possibly better, right? But I have a natural advantage just based on the deck I chose. So before we have even started a game, I have that slight percentage going for me. So that's the main reasoning behind choosing this deck. I also felt like it was very well positioned, and two Charizard Pidgeot decks with Dusknoir, not with Munkidori, did make it all the way into the top 8. So I do think Charizard Pidgeot was a very good call. Of course, the deck does kind of struggle against Dragapult. All the versions of Dragapult, but especially Dragapult Dusknoir, because a body can just lock you out of a game. But with the Picnic Basket and with Munkidori healing, you definitely have a solid chance. And the 3 bosses orders help you a lot when even under body, you can still be aggressive against the Dusknoirs and the Duskulls and or any Dracloak that has an energy attached. So I felt confident that I could beat Dragapult Dusknoir, and I felt very confident in the other matchups surrounding the deck, which were Gardevoir, Goldingo, and Raging Bolt. I focused on those decks. There's obviously many other decks that were played at the World Championships, but those were the decks to beat. Those were the top 5 decks played just in terms of numbers, so statistically I was very likely to face any of those. And the other one was Grimmsnarl, which there was actually way less Grimmsnarl than I expected it to be. I expected Grimmsnarl to be a top 3 deck. It was actually number 5 with way less people than I thought it would have playing it, and that was even better because Grimmsnarl can be a tough matchup for this deck. Not unwinnable by any means, but it was tough, and it was actually not very popular, and it also didn't do too well at the event. So I felt even more vindicated once I saw the graphic of the day 1 meta. And I did play against Gardevoir round 1 and round 2, so the day started off really, really well. Round 3 I played against Goldingo, against one of the... in the over 20 years of playing this game at a competitive level, that round 3 is the worst experience I've ever had playing against an opponent. In terms of sportsmanship, in terms of many things, right? So I'm not going to go into details. It's unfortunate that people act and play that way, but it is what it is. So anyways, that was a rough tie to take in a game that with a little bit more time I would have definitely won. And then I ended up playing against a Dragapult Charizard, a tough matchup, but that's where prizes came into play. Monkey Dirty was priced game 1, that led me to losing. Game 2 I won, and game 3 I priced my second Pidgeot. I took a lot of time setting up my board. I priced a second Pidgeot, and at one point he was able to Iono plus knock out the one Pidgeot I did have, and I ended up missing the game-winning boss after that. If the second Pidgeot had been available, I'm pretty sure I would have walked away winning that one, but that was a tough loss to take, especially after the very hideous round 3 that I had. And then the next round I played against a Raging Bolt that had a tech of Cornerstone, which makes a lot of sense, right? A lot of people were teching and gearing for Goldingo EX, and that's where Charizard was caught in the crossfire, as my opponent very eloquently put it. We had a very good game. We had a very pleasant game. I won game 1 because he priced Cornerstone, but game 2 he played it perfectly, and his adaptation, or his difference in the usual Raging Bolt decks, which usually play 1 Prime Catcher and 1 Disorders, he had 2 Disorders. That caught me off guard, and that secured him the tie in that round, as we didn't have enough time to finish game 3. Then I beat a Goldingo, pretty straightforward, and then I lost back-to-back games. The first one against a Mirror Charizard Pidgeot with Dusknoir, where we made a gentleman's agreement, and I was on the losing side. By game 3 I was down 1 prize card, so I gave it to my opponent. And then round 8 I had nothing to play for, played against another Goldingo that ended up taking the win in a game 3 where I priced both Chi-Yu and Maximum Belt, the 2 very key cards that are needed in that specific matchup, and that was it. So overall, I always have a great Worlds experience, but that round 3, in the last 20 years of playing Pokemon competitively at the highest level, has never left me with such a bad taste of mouth, or such a bad, it's a single worst experience I've ever had playing against someone. And based on who their coach is, and I know their coach doesn't honor gentleman's agreements and whatnot, it didn't surprise me that he acted that way, but it was still very unfortunate to have it happen. And anyways, rough situation, we move on, and now we look forward to the next regional, which is Monterey Regionals. Very high chance that I end up playing this deck once again. I feel very confident with it heading into Worlds. Nothing has changed, right? The same decks are powerful and popular. Gardevoir winning, you would think that we have all learned, and now it has a bigger target on its back and people are gonna gun for it more, but it still keeps winning, surprisingly. So hopefully that continues. Hopefully a lot of players play it. I don't know, I never commit to a deck with this much time beforehand, but I feel like Monterey could be this deck and my preparation for the World Championships, revindication or comeback, because I definitely felt like I could have done much better than I actually did. I played a lot, I grinded a lot of games. It's been a while since I've played that much Pokemon before an event, and it didn't pay off, but perhaps Monterey could be the redeeming weekend for Charizard Pidgeot. Now, I will probably make some changes to the deck based on the fact that it's now a regional, not the World Championships, and the average skill level at that event will be different, right? But for now, my deck list felt pretty standard. It was definitely based off of Gabriel Fernandez's NAIC winning list. I added a heal that was the last addition that I had in the deck. I wanted to cut a corner for the Ultra Ball, for the Picnic Basket, or in order to keep the Picnic Basket and to have a 6th basic Fire Energy, which was so crucial and so good in all of my testing. And it was a card that I was not willing to take out. And also the 3rd Boss's Order. So having Hilda allowed me to still have Evolution Surge. It also gave me Energy Surge as well. So setting up Monkey Dory with an attack off of Charizard, or setting up Pidgeot and searching for that energy was super crucial and clutch. And it allowed me to keep the Picnic Basket, which was very important and very useful against many situations, right? But especially against Grimmsnarl and against all the potential Dragon Ball decks that were out there. Other than that, Pokemon, pretty straightforward. The 2-2-2 Pidgeot line is super safe, but I definitely think going to 2-1-2 and 3-word candy is a little bit greedy and makes your Dragon Ball matchup that much worse, because you're that much weaker to body you if you end up pricing the Pidgeotto, which It's only a 10% chance, but it's still a very real one. So I didn't want that to even be a possibility. I feel like every game I get pitched out, I have a very good chance at winning. So I just want to get pitched out as often as I can and as reliably as I can. That's the real thing. Now 3 bosses orders definitely allowed me to be more aggressive with my bosses orders early, despite in case I had a very good setup and my opponent was on the slower side, I didn't have to rely on counter catcher, and I still had 3 costing effects to close out games. Chiyu, one of the best cards in the deck, that 140 magnitude, or what's the name of the card? What's the name of the attack? Mega Fire of Envy. Super clutch, super powerful. One of the best cards in the deck, and the reason why this deck is good, I looked into a wide variety of fire type attackers, like Victini, like Gouging Fire, and Chiyu is unmatched because of the cost and because of the damage output. Unfortunately, you need a Pokemon to be knocked out for it to get to that number, right? But in this aggressive metagame, that's bound to happen pretty much every single time. And then 3 Iono is something that I questioned myself a lot on. I felt like 4 Iono was just super good, super straightforward, and allowed me to disrupt in many situations. But I also found myself wanting to Arven and wanting to just search for a better setup and wanting to have a bit more initiative. So Iono as a 3 was more than good enough. I would love a 4th, but I don't think I can fit it. And then the 3 ball swords I mentioned, it's just amazing to have. The Hilda was very good. The Brock scouting was very good as well. And the Professor Turo can create some situations where you take out your opponent, you remove your opponent's win condition from the board by, I used Fizz and DPT and then immediately Turoed it back up to my hand so many times just to have more resources, but not give that option to my opponent to get a knockout, tanking a hit with a Charizard and then using Turo to re-evolve into another Charizard with a Charmeleon on the bench and whatnot. Eliminating an opponent's turn is also so clutch. And one very cool thing that I didn't get to do this weekend, but I did a lot during my testing, was using Monkey. If I already had my Monkey Dory established, I would use Adrenabrain, Turo the Monkey Dory, rebench it, attach with whatever other energy I had, Luminous or the Dark, to it, and Adrenabrain twice. That took so many opponents off guard. I think based on PTG Live experiences, I never got to pull that off at the World Championships, but that's a really cool play that it's unorthodox and something that not a lot of people end up expecting. And then we have the 4 Puffin, the 3 Ultra Ball. Once again, questionable, but it's a corner I caught. I feel like at Worlds, you want to cut as many corners as you can to give yourself the biggest deck advantage that you can against the world's best players, right? Because your edge in terms of decision making and skill against any opponent there is going to be extremely small, if you have any at all, right? You could actually be slightly worse than your opponent. They prep more, they are more in tune in the day, I don't know, right? So cutting 1 Ultra Ball didn't feel like it handicapped the deck too much, especially with supporter Pokemon search like Hilda or Brock, but 4 Ultra Ball is something I would definitely consider at regionals, for example, because it's just like it lets you play the game, and that's very important. Sugar Candy, definitely on the lower side. I wish I had the space for a 3rd, but I think that comes at a cost of cutting a tech card such as the Picnic Basket, or perhaps the 3rd Boss's Orders or the 6 Fire Energy, so there's definitely room for it. But then you could also cut the Pidgeotto, but with random Bodies running around with the threat of Frillish now with the black and white metagame, and just Dragapult being very popular, I think 2 is good enough. 3 would be ideal, but not at the cost of dropping a Pidgeotto. So Sugar Candy is what I have for now. Counter Catcher, an amazing card, lets you do a very effective 2-2 against aggressive decks like Goldengo or Raging Bolt, whilst using your supporter to help set up. So it's a really good card. Don't think you need more. Can't afford less, that's for sure. And then we have to Super Rod for recovery, very essential, and then Energy Surge. I cannot emphasize how much I love Energy Surge, because so many times you do have Charmander or you do have Pidgey, or you have a puffin and what you're missing is energy because you don't play that many energy. But having a way to Arvin for an energy in order to use TM Evo, which is so essential, cannot be understated. So Energy Surge, I loved the fact that I got to play Energy Surge at the World Championships because it's such a common card. It's been available since the very beginning of the Pokemon trading card game. It's not deemed a very powerful card, and we have Earthen Vessel right now as well, where you can even say is better, and it's better in many decks, but not in this one. So Energy Surge, fantastic card, untouchable in my opinion. And then we have Picnic Basket. That's one of the most flexible spots. If you're not expecting a lot of Grimmsnarl, or you think you can handle it easily, that card can easily become the 4th Ultra One. That was actually the last change I did right the day before the World Championships. And then 2 Technical Machine Evolution. Those cards are so essential and so good for this deck to work. Max build, amazing to boost your damage against every single deck out there, letting you reach for 320 against Grimmsnarl and Dragapult a lot faster than you normally would, and you don't need to be behind with something like a Defiance Band, and it also lets you be very aggressive against a failed Iron Hands that didn't get powered up, or if there's a Serendipity up front that your opponent's trying to buy time and you have an aggressive start with an early Charizard, you can use the Max Belt to just start taking prizes before your opponent has even had a chance to be aggressive themselves. 2 Artisan helps you set up, of course, extra consistency never hurts, and then 6 Fire, 1 Dark, and 1 Luminous. 99% of Charizard lists are running 5 Fire, I believe. 5 Fire is correct, or it's not correct, it's perfectly fine. But with 6, if you prize 1 and you had to use 1 to retreat at some point or of an Ultra Ball discard, you still have 4 Fires left in order to accelerate with Charizard EX's ability and get 2 Charizards powered up or a Chiyu without relying on Super Rod. I think that's the key, right? You can still do it with the Luminous, yeah, but having that flexibility and making sure that you don't rely too much on the Super Rod is so important. So I loved running 6 Fire. Since the very beginning, I made that change. I always felt like I wanted an extra Fire, and when I added it, I knew that was an untouchable card for me. Of course, many players did well with 5 Fire. I agree that it's probably enough to have 5 Fire, but the flexibility that 6 Fire gives you and the extra benefit of having an extra energy for Technical Machine Evolution on turn 1 cannot be understated. So if you've been playing with 5, I encourage you to bump it up to 6, yeah, for a total of 8 energy, and I assure you, you will notice a difference. And then we have the Dark and the Luminous to help with Monkey Jury, and of course the Luminous can sometimes act as an extra fire energy in a pinch, and also lets you use Mind Bend in some weird quirky situations, which I think I attacked with Mind Bend at least twice over the weekend at some points. But yeah, that's what I played at the World Championships. I'm not going to be playing any games with this deck. It's already a pretty decently long video. If you'd like to watch me play with the deck, definitely let me know. I'm looking into perhaps streaming a bit more, making a comeback. I've said I'm gonna make a comeback many times, but I feel like I'm meaning it this time a bit more. But anyways, I might play a few games with the deck. Let me know if you're interested in watching that. Let me know what you think of this deck and if it's something you would have considered playing at the World Championships. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.